And the High Court today found Joseph Irungu, alias Jowie, guilty of the murder of 29-year-old businesswoman Monica Kimani. The judge in convicting Jowie stated that the prosecution had produced circumstantial evidence that Jowie committed the crime in 2018. Jowie is set to be sentenced next month. Brenda Wanga walks us through the evidence that nailed Jowie.
Six years after their arrest and the start of the murder trial, Joseph Irungu, alias Jowie, and Jackie Maribe now know their fate.
The first accused person is convicted on the charge. The second accused person is acquitted of the offense.
Jowie's conviction was on the strength of a string of evidence produced in court in the course of the trial. The judge in her ruling stating that despite Jowie's denial about knowing the deceased, the prosecution proved that not only did he know Monica well, but had also been in her house on Lemuria Road on the day that she was murdered and was the last person to see her alive.
Evidence by the first accused person that he did not know the deceased prior to her death is untenable. It is insincere, and it is an afterthought, and it is false. It is the finding of this court that the first accused person was known to the deceased prior to her death.
The prosecution had also established that Jowie had laid out his plan well in advance, including how to get access to Monica's house undetected, the evidence of the guard at Lemuria, and that of a casual laborer, Dominic Becerra, nailing Jowie.
There is evidence from Protected Witness 3A to the effect that the person who went to the deceased house on 19th of September 2018 produced an ID in the name of Dominic Becerra. This witness identifies the first accused person on the parade as the Dominic Becerra. I come to the parade.
Jowie's dressing on the day of the murder was also a major point in securing his conviction. The brown shorts, the white kanzu, and the maroon cap featured prominently in witness accounts, with one witness explaining how and when Jowie changed into the kanzu moments before going to the late Monica's house.
But it was very clear. No one disputed that the first accused person is supposed and was wearing a maroon cap. So a lot of questions was on white kanzu, and the brown short. No question on the maroon cap. Yet this maroon cap knits and joins right from the house where the first accused left. The house help says he wore a maroon cap. Jenny's at Roadhouse, he wore a maroon cap. You go to Chelagat, he had a maroon cap. You go to the guard at Lemuria, Haron had a maroon cap. You go to the witnesses who were in that house, he had a maroon cap. A maroon cap has been produced in this court. Does the accused person say it's not mine? No evidence to that effect.
Further evidence produced in court serving to seal the case against Irungu, with the judge convinced that a piece of cloth recovered from the destroyed evidence from his house was indeed part of a kanzu. In his defense, Jowie had denied being at Monica's house for a long period of time. Indeed, the timestamp at the security gate showed that he had arrived after 11 o'clock, but the evidence adduced in court turning this statement on its head, with a witness placing Jowie in the house much earlier.
Then we come to the evidence of Lee Owen, who then says when he arrived in the deceased house at 9, the first accused person was there. Now look at this evidence. Lee Owen says, in fact he says, I entered when the 9 o'clock news were on. And the entrance is saying he entered 23. So let's just continue this journey. They leave Roadhouse at 8. They part at 8:30, and by 9, according to Owen, he's in the deceased house. Then, according to Owen, he leaves the first accused in the deceased house. But even departure from the first accused house does not seem to an issue. So the question I've posed for all of us to ask and answer is, if this first accused person left Jennings at 8:30, and by 9 he was in the deceased house, Is it possible then the entry that shows he entered at 11 o'clock was an error?
Jowie's case was not helped by the fact that his former neighbor testified to the fact that he had borrowed his gun and had used the same to try and cover up the murder by diverting the police attention to a different matter. When the late Monica Kimani walked into this apartment building that fateful day in September 2018, she had no idea of what was laying in wait for her. She had no clue that hours later she would lose her life in a gruesome manner. And 5 years later, the courts have found Joseph Irungu guilty of that murder. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV, Nairobi.